Hey everyone, Scott with CinemaVision here, giving you a little preview of 0.0.38. We just put this up on the site a few minutes ago. It's basically 0.37 with a whole bunch of logging added in, but you should still download it anyway. Stay current. Anyway, wanted to show you guys all the new features that we've added, maybe go through the creation of a sequence, show you how to configure the add-on on first run, things like that. And I'm not going to show you demo mode. We did want the add-on to work straight out of the box without any configuration. That's what demo mode is. Um, but if you're like me, you want to configure and customize every little piece of what this thing is going to do. So I'm just going to show you how to do all that. So I just installed this. Uh, no settings, no nothing, so this will be just like it is first run if you've never run this before. First thing you want to do is go into the configuration and set the content path. Now what this is going to do, again, is once you choose your root folder, which in my case it's a folder I named CinemaVision, this will be empty. But once you set the content path, this is your root folder uh, for all of your CinemaVision content, and go down here and hit OK, it's going to create all of those directories underneath it and all the dependencies that they have. So we're going to hit OK here. Now you have to do that. It doesn't automatically create it once you set the content path, because Kodi can't actually execute scripts out of the configuration for an add-on until you've hit OK. So uh, now our content path is set. Now at this point, most of you will hop out here, hit the CinemaVision website, and start downloading your content and putting it in here. We've got audio format bumpers for Atmos. This here is a problem. I'm gonna have to look into that. uh, Video bumpers and all of the video bumpers underneath it. Uh, Trivia slides, uh, trailers, ratings bumpers. Now this is kind of new. So natively we're going to support these 4 rating systems, and we'll add things in as we add more rating systems, get more content for them. Like for example, right now on the website we have ICAA as a rating system, but we don't have it here in the add-on just yet. It's going to be put in for development round 2. So for the purposes of this video, we're going to be using MPAA because clearly my install's in English and that's what all my ratings bumpers are going to be. And I have, under the MPAA folder, added 2 different styles from the website. Now, this is something that is supported universally through all of these. If anybody chooses to download multiple BBFC bumpers, you will choose whatever styles you want, throw them in there, and you can pick from them in the add-on, or even have it show randomly. So we've got all of our content here. I've got a couple of sequence files here that we'll use in a minute. So let's go ahead and do a content update. That's not a content update. That's a content update. So this is going to go through and scrape everything. Now I've got thousands and thousands of files, tons of songs, a whole ridiculous amount of trivia. I think there's about 3,000 trivia files. And this whole thing takes about a minute to scrape into the database. Now what it's doing is it's cataloging every single file recursively through all of those directories, which is something we haven't done before. When we first put this out, we were limiting everybody to a single directory underneath whatever content folder they were in. So you could only go 1 folder deep in trivia and video bumpers, whatever you wanted to do. Now that doesn't matter. So let's say in video bumpers you have cartoons that you want to display before a movie. Well, now you can choose to separate those into different folders, like Looney Tunes or Disney cartoons or Woody Woodpecker or whatever the case may be under different folders. It's almost done. See, that wasn't too bad. About a minute of talking. So it'll recursively scan everything now, which is great. That's something that a lot of people have been asking for. My personal preference is to update the editor, or update the content when the editor starts, rather. Um, Now, I'm not going to set either one of these, because there's something that I want to show you guys once we go in and actually edit the sequence. So for playback, uh, allow video skipping is pretty self-explanatory. That's your page up, page down, jumping back and forth between modules in your sequence. If you want to turn that off for any reason, you can. I don't know why you ever would, but you can. Uh, the cue dialog is the CinemaVision Launcher. So we wanted to create a launcher that gave you the ability to reorder and um, edit your queue for any of the movies that you want to queue. So let's say you have the entire Marvel universe. You can queue every single one of those movies up, and they're probably going to be out of order. But with the CinemaVision Launcher, you can actually go through and reorder and save your queue in the order you want to watch the movies, which is pretty cool. So uh, this dialogue, if you don't want to see it at all, you check this. If you only want to see it when you have multiple movies queued, you check this. And if you want to see it all the time, leave it unchecked. My personal preference, I don't want to see it if I'm only playing one feature. I want it to just jump right into the sequence when I launch it. But I do want to go through and see the uh, queue dialog whenever I've got multiple features queued, and I'll show you that here in a minute. Trivia, nothing's really changed here. This is still all the same. If anybody has any questions about this, we're going to do a setting by setting, module by module walkthrough videos for anything and everything that CinemaVision can actually do. So that's coming. If you have questions for now, just post in the forums and we'll get to you. Trailers, there are a couple of new things here. Now, because we scraped our content, it can see what rating system we're using. If we hadn't scraped the content, this would be some weird character. Not a big deal. If you ever see anything other than none there in rating limit or MPAG in rating limit max or whatever your rating system is in the lowest uh, rating in your rating system. If you see that there, you're good. If you don't see that and you see something weird, go through and update your content. Make sure you've got rating systems in there. So match feature genres, that hasn't changed, but now it's a module by module setting instead of a universal setting. We moved it so that you can do that for any module that you choose to put out there. So if you have multiple trailers and you don't want one of them to match the genre of the feature, now you can do that. Same with the rating limit. So you can match features here. You can set it to the max, which will limit it at this point to MPAA-G, so it won't play anything more than G trailer. Or you can have no rating limit at all. I'm just going to leave it at none. Audio format really hasn't changed. It'll auto-detect from source, and if it can't find the source, it will fall back to other. Feature has changed. Now this is one of the things you're going to want to go in and set up. You can now pick your default rating system from the ones that we have here, and we'll also scrape in using an XML file any additional rating systems that any of you submit. So if you have videos for your rating system, we can now incorporate those without actually modifying the code. And then when we reach the next round of development, we'll go through and we'll add those rating systems in as defaults, and then you won't have to worry about the XML file for your rating system anymore. So for this, we're going to use MPAA. We're only going to use one feature. The ratings bumper is going to be a video, and we're going to do this by style. Now you saw earlier I put in classic and colors. Now I can choose from classic and colors. So let's say MPAA colors is what I want to use. This is new. So we've added these three action executions, I guess I should call them, when we started playing around with the actions file and realized we were missing some pretty big key factors, right? So previously you were only able to execute an action from the sequence, which is great. That's going to give you a lot of freedom. But when you pause it, you kind of want the lights to come up a little bit. Maybe you want it to, I don't know, pour you a beer. If you can get it to do that, that's great. I'm jealous. So now you can do that. You can have it execute a specific action file when you pause it, when you resume it, when you abort it. There's one more, but we're not sure how to get it to work. We were thinking about, like you see in the movie theaters, when the trailer, or I'm sorry, when the credits roll on the end of a feature, bringing the lights up just a little bit. We're thinking we could do that with chapters, but not too many people have chapters sitting on their media, so we're going to ignore that for now. We'll come back to it. It's on the list. You'll notice here in advance we used to have the Kodi Logup loader in here, and we took that out because that uses xbmclogs.com, which has been down for a week, as I'm sure most of you knew. So what we're doing right now is working on implementing Pastebin and maybe a couple of other things to try and help you guys submit tickets to the website and all manner of shenanigans. So that's pretty much all the settings that we're going to go over anyway. So we'll hit OK here, and we'll go into the sequence itself. So what that did is it synced up the database with the content that's there. It didn't find anything new because we haven't added anything since we started the video. So it just compared the files and moved on. Takes just a couple of seconds. That scraper is really fast. And here we are in the default CinemaVision sequence. So you'll notice you can still rename, copy, move, disable, and remove any of these at any point in time from your sequence. So if you want to get in here and use this as your base and modify it, let's say you don't want a courtesy video, you just remove it. Say you don't have a trivia outro, but you might someday. You disable it. You can enable it. You can rename it. You can move it around. Whatever you want to do. I don't like trivia here. Let's move it. No problem. You can copy a module. You can rename anything you want. And that way you can have, let's say for example, if you have a specific YouTube playlist that you like to play, like, I don't know, honest trailers, and you have a video module, but you don't want it to be named custom video module or whatever, you can name it honest trailers and you know exactly what it is without going in and looking at it. So let's remove this trivia. So you'll notice on the left there where you see source default and it gives you the default that it is, those defaults are all set in the configuration for CinemaVision. So if you change it there, it's going to change your default across the board for all of those modules that are using the defaults. Now you notice the video bumpers really aren't using defaults because they're specific video bumper types like trailers intro. But trailers do. So do audio format videos, features. So if you wanted to change those universally, you could do that. Or you can set them per module and it will still save those settings and use them per module. And other things that you haven't changed will continue to use your default settings. So that's another way that we kind of afford the freedom that this is capable of, right? So we don't have a trailer's outro. We're going to go ahead and disable that so it just skips over it entirely without even trying to play it. Now, if there's nothing in those folders, it will skip it without erroring, so you don't need to worry about it. But just for the sake of seeing it in the sequence, my personal preference is to disable the stuff I'm not using. So let's talk about commands. There's not a lot that commands are doing right now. There's a lot that we're looking at adding, but it's probably not going to happen. Uh, Actually, it's definitely not going to happen until development round 2. So let's edit a command module real quick and I'll show you exactly what it's doing. Now you'll see up above this dialog where that line is going across to that next video bumper in the sequence. In fact, there you go. So this gray line is pointing to this feature outro. Now what it's doing is after your feature, on the condition that there is not another feature queued up, it's going to skip forward 6 modules in your sequence. Which means if there's not any features queued up after this feature plays, it will play feature outro, theater outro, and stop your sequence. If there is another feature in the queue, let's say you've queued up the Lord of the Rings movies like we're going to do in our demo, all 3 of them, it's going to play this feature first. Notice there's another one in the queue. Jump to an intermission video, then trivia, audio format bumper, the next Lord of the Rings movie, and then it's going to hit this command module which says if the feature queue has something else in it, jump back over here to intermission, trivia, audio format, the next feature, and since there's only 3 movies, now it's going to say the feature queue is not full, so we're just going to skip forward to the next module, play our way out, and the sequence will stop. So one of the things that we didn't really touch on was that command module. Those are really the only things that it can do. You'll see here if I add another one, edit it, there's really not much. You can go back, you can go forward uh, based on these 2 conditions. Like I said, we're going to be adding more, but it's not going to come just yet. So we'll remove that command module and I'll show you actions. Now this isn't really half-baked, it's pretty full-featured, and it's much more simple than it used to be. It's still not where we want it. We would rather you be able to pick a command you want to do and execute it, but this is really good for now. So you can add an action anywhere in your sequence. Let's say right before trivia slides. I want my lights to dim to a specific setting. So I've created some actions. These are for Philips Hue. I don't have Philips Hue here, so I can't actually show it to you. But there are some videos. Dex Deadly actually posted one just a few minutes ago in the forums that you can watch that show him manipulating open hob with Philips Hue as the lighting source. So I'd encourage you guys to watch that and read the write-up that he put together on how to configure all of that. But for now, these CV action files that I've created, and I'll show you what exactly those are. So these are trivia lights. And all it's really saying is set the brightness to 200 and the hue to a specific number and turn them on. So that's going to dim the lights to a specific setting right before trivia. And that's it. That's all. That's all it is. Now let's say you want to, right before your trailers, dim the lights to another setting. Well, you create another action file, and you can have as many actions in one action file, so you can actually have it dim the lights, start your popcorn machine, anything that you have that will work with JSON. Uh, it'll work with just fine. So I've got another one there for trailer that dims them just a little bit more. And then we've got one for feature. We could throw that in right there. Because I don't actually have Philips Hue or anything, I'm going to go ahead and remove these because they will create problems since I have nothing on the back end to support them. So let's say, for the sake of argument, that my sequence is done. This is what I want it to look like. I hit C on the keyboard and I save it. You can create a new one from scratch if you want. We'll do that here in a minute. You can load one you have created, so if you've created a sequence on one box and you want to move it to another box, or not even move it, just duplicate it, you can do that without having to deal with the headache of recreating it from scratch, because I know we all put time into these things. There's no reason to do that. You can also play your sequence here if you want to test it. It will run a couple of test, like there's a test feature presentation slide that it'll show. It says this is where your feature presentation would be. So if you want to test your sequence out before you ever actually run a movie, you can do that. So we're going to save this here. Oh, right there. And we're going to call this sequence test. Now, the first time you do this, if you don't have your defaults set, that 2D and 3D default sequence setting, you can set it here. I would recommend you always keep that set to whatever sequence it is that you want to be your 2D or 3D default, depending on what you're trying to do. So for this, we're going to set it for 2D. And what that does, if we go into the settings here, set this setting. This is used by the CinemaVision Launcher. Whenever you launch from the skin or the CinemaVision Launcher, it's going to use your default 2D or 3D sequence to play the sequence. If those aren't set, it will use always the default CinemaVision sequence that comes with it when you download this thing. So if you don't want it to be that sequence, set one up here. All right, so we are ready to go. I told you I was going to create a new sequence from scratch, so we can do that now. Here it is, totally blank slate. Let's say I just want to go straight into trivia. I'm good with the defaults. Now I want to, let's say, add a single video bumper. That's not what I wanted to do. And I want that to be a single file. I've got in my Kodi folder in CinemaVision YouTube channels. This is a folder that I created that doesn't come prepackaged with CinemaVision. That's just got a couple of CV URL files in it. Let's say I want this Lord of the Rings Honest trailer to play. So we select that. Now I want a trailer to play, just one. And then I want the audio format bumper, my feature, and then we'll say an intermission video, at random. You can say no, pick from one of the videos in that folder. Forgot to show you guys that. But we'll say at random. Gives it a little bit of a what's coming next feel. And you'll see that it's naming these as I go. Let's rename that. Didn't mean to slash out of Kodi, but whatever. It's live. I don't care. So anyway, intermission. Then we're going to say we want some trivia for another 10 minutes. And again, you can reset any of these settings and it won't use the defaults if you wanted to. I'm not going to do that. And then another audio format bumper and the second feature, right? So this is how we'd want it to look. Now we're going to add a video bumper for, let's say, an outro, right? You got to have something to end on, so let's have it end on a theater outro. Now this is just going to play it all the way through, right? We don't want that. We want this to loop if there's another feature in queue. So we're going to create a command. We're going to edit that command. The command is going to be skip because we want to move forward in the sequence. And we're going to skip here. Now I kind of screwed this up, and I'll tell you why. So if the feature queue is empty, we want it to move forward. But right now, this isn't where it should be moving because we're going to add a second command here to skip back. So you see it's just going to create a loop, right? So let's go ahead and modify this command. We want this to go back. We want it to go back to the intermission if the feature queue is full. Now we got to go back in here, modify him to be 6. So he goes straight to theater outro. That's it. There's our sequence. Simple. Created from scratch in, what, 5 minutes? Anyway, I'm going to back out of here. We're not going to save these changes because I don't need this sequence. I've already got one set. And I'm going to show you this launcher. I don't have skin integration set up here. I'm waiting for the skinners to actually implement that into their production uh, stuff that's sitting on the repo. So I haven't done that myself. I've just been using the CinemaVision Launcher to do all of this. And quite frankly, I think it's pretty cool. So you'll remember in the settings with the queue dialog settings, I set it so that if it's a single movie, it's not going to launch the queue dialog. But if I queue up multiple movies, it's going to launch the queue dialog. So let's say we're going to watch Hobbit: Unexpected Journey. I'm going to highlight that movie, hit C to bring up context menu, go to CinemaVision, and it's going to launch directly into my sequence. I'm going to fast forward through a lot of this. Still works the same way. Page up, page down. Page up moves forward. Page down moves backwards in your modules. And right and left will move forward and backwards in the trivia, so that if you miss a question, you can go back and see it. If you hit page up once in trivia, it fades the music out gracefully. And if you hit page up twice, it jumps immediately to the next module. This is my trailer. Now we're at the audio format bumper. Here's the rating slide for the Hobbit movie. And the beginning of the movie. If I page up, there's the outro, and the sequence is finished. Now let's say I want to queue these up. So I can either go into the set, right, and queue each one individually. Now I can just go to the set, hit queue, and it will queue all of them. I can go in here and delete all of these and apply it to the queue, and my queue is completely clean. The other thing that you can do, if you just want to go ahead and play the set, is just hit C, hit CinemaVision. It will auto queue, and here we are. Now, you saw that we can delete items. What I didn't show you is we can reorder this. So let's say you've got Marvel movies, they were added to the queue out of order. One of the things that we bring to the table is you can reorder these things. If you want to watch them in reverse, you can do that. We don't care. And you can either apply it to the queue, cancel back out, and then when you go back in after you've added whatever else or messed with whatever settings you want, there they are in reverse order. Or you can just go ahead and play it. Again, we're going to skip through this stuff just to give you guys an idea of what it's going to be like. I don't want the video to be too long or too loud, so that's the trailer. It's pulling those from iTunes. Here's the audio format bumper, the ratings card, and the first movie it's going to play, if you remember it's backwards, is the Battle of Five Armies. So we're going to go ahead and skip that, and it's going to go to the intermission and then trivia. Now this is in that loop that we talked about. I'm going to hit page up twice here, and it's going to jump directly to the next, which is the audio format bumper in the loop. And here's the ratings card. And the next film should be Desolation of Smog, since we're playing them in reverse order. There it is right there. We're going to skip forward. Intermission video. Trivia. Audio format bumper for Unexpected Journey. Ratings card for Unexpected Journey. And then the beginning of Unexpected Journey. We're going to hit page up one more time. There's not another feature in queue, so it's going to go to the exit video. And then the sequence is finished. So there you have it, ladies and gents. The CinemaVision add-on, still in beta, completely functional. Again, I urge you to check out some of the things that folks are doing on the forum with home automation. It's pretty impressive. We're still working on adding some things in, shoring up some features, but we're pretty close to a release. Thank you very much for your support. Thanks for your time. Thanks for watching. And we hope to see you around.